right now, and we'll give you a little bit to answer that and take a look at the poll results together. Great, maybe a couple more people want to take a moment to answer. If you're just getting connected, hopefully you're seeing the poll on your screen. All right, Alexis, why don't we take a look at those results? So it looks like by and large we have, or about half of the people who are here are college faculty. We have some researchers, a couple of high school teachers, fantastic, an administrator, and some other folks as well. Can we scroll down just a little bit? I don't know if I need to scroll down, pardon me. And then a variety of responses in terms of understanding about concurrent enrollment. So this is good. Folks have some understanding. Some folks have even taught concurrent enrollment courses. And then other people are looking to learn more about it. So that's who we have here in the meeting today. So a mix of people in terms of backgrounds and where they're coming from. We're just going to do some introductions, go through some statements from our panelists, and then have a breakout group time and a discussion, followed by some resources and next steps. I'm going to turn it over to Renee now so that she can introduce everyone.
Thank you so much, Jen. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see many of you, and we are so happy you could participate today. We are going to pack a lot into an hour, what would have been a 90-minute session at SIGCSE. So our panelists today, I'm going to introduce them. I'm Renee Fall. I work with Jen at the CSforCLE, and I work on a NSF project on computer science through concurrent enrollment. So today we've got a couple other people on that project who are going to be joining us as panelists. One is Seth Freeman. I want to give a wave, Seth. He's a professor at Capital Community College right in downtown Hartford, Connecticut, in the CIS department, and he's also chair of the business and technology department. Dan Kaiser is here in Minnesota at Southwest Minnesota State University. He's professor of computer science and chair of the math and CS department. In addition, we've got Debbie Jackson, who hails from Cleveland State University in their College of Education and Human Services. She's an associate professor and the interim chair of the teacher ed department. And last but not least, Ron Greenberg is professor of computer science and the undergraduate program director at Loyola University in Chicago. So the landscape of advanced course taking in high school can be really confusing. There's a lot of terminology. There's dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, college and high school, early college, dual credit, and then we also know there's advanced placement and IB. So all of these projects are really aimed at helping high school students on their way to college, and they share similar goals. They are to introduce students to college level work and help them prepare for college, allow students to earn college credits, potentially reducing their college costs, and providing students with rigorous coursework while they're in high school that potentially could increase their engagement and their retention in high school. So for today, we really want to define a bit about what we're going to be talking about. So here's just a bit of a matrix about some of the terminology and some differences among them. So concurrent enrollment, which is the middle row, is really a subset of the larger bucket of dual enrollment. And concurrent enrollment is different and unique because those courses are taught in the high school, and they're taught by high school teachers who are certified to teach by the college that they're partnering with. Concurrent and dual enrollment are assessed by course grades, assignments throughout the semester, maybe a final exam, and students in these courses actually earn college credit on a transcript when they complete the course. These differ a little bit from advanced placement. So we're going to talk, when we talk today about dual enrollment, It's the larger bucket, and it is related to concurrent enrollment, but concurrent is a bit subset of that. So concurrent enrollment really rests on important partnerships between colleges and universities and their partner high schools. These college courses, as I mentioned, are offered in the high school during the school day, so they're part of their regular day, and they get grades based on their work throughout the term, which is a bit different than in AP where there's one high stakes test. Students earn that college transcript, and they also earn high school credit when they complete the course. The teachers are high school teachers who the college certifies that they are credentialed and approved to teach college level courses. In most cases, these programs are supported by state or federal funds, and therefore the cost of college tuition is greatly reduced for students. Something special about concurrent enrollment is that there's a national alliance of concurrent enrollment partnerships that's a great network, and it actually accredits these programs against 16 standards that look at everything from the curriculum and the faculty to evaluation and students. So dual and concurrent enrollment is really expansive. It's grown a lot in the first decades of this century, and it's grown a lot more recently as well. So it grew more than 7%, and it's had higher growth in rural schools and schools with majority students of color. About 82% of public high schools in 2010-11 actually enrolled students in college courses, and we know it's higher now. We think there's probably closer to 2 million students, high school students, who actually take college courses. And if you just look at the upper grades or certain regions, it's even a greater percentage of students who take these courses. Of those courses, of those students, 77% of them were actually taught in the secondary schools rather than going to a college campus. However, dual and concurrent enrollment do exhibit gaps in participation rates, which is similar to advanced placement, and it's something that people are aware of and have begun to work on, but certainly white, Asian students and students whose parents have actually gone to college are much more likely to participate in these courses. So there's definitely some work and advocacy looking at that. We can look nationally at participation in dual enrollment and AP. On the left, we see a map of dual enrollment participation across the country, and on the right, advanced placement participation. Demographically, dual enrollment participation is really extremely varied by state and region, and even down to the district and school level. We know in Iowa, about half of all high school students graduate high school with some college credits. But other than Iowa, there's not a lot we can say about any large geographic area or broad statements we can make about dual enrollment. If you look at advanced placement on the right, we see that the courses tend to cluster on the west and east coasts, as well as Florida and California have some great density in certain areas. So we know that dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment reach a lot of students in many places. And when thinking about computer science and other subjects, but computer science specifically, if it's really only available through AP in high school, many students really probably miss out. So there's been a lot of research on the effects of dual enrollment, and just the sort of very high level findings across multiple studies are that it really has positive effects at the high school level for high school completion, their general academic achievement, and also to some degree helps students stay in school, improves attendance and college readiness. And then at the college level, it really increases access and enrollment and has positive effects on degree attainment. There's also even some evidence that dual enrollment has better outcomes for students of color and first-generation college students than AP and other similar programs. So when we think about broadening participation in computing via concurrent enrollment, we're really paying attention to the fact that, as many of you know, computer science graduates at this point are still very much majority male, white, and Asian. And there have been a lot of national and local efforts to broaden participation in computing that have created great new curricula, tools, professional development, pedagogies, have changed policies. and develop things like the new Advanced Placement Computer Science Principles course, which is really aimed at broadening participation in computing. When we think about concurrent enrollment, we know that almost all states have these programs, that it's growing, that it's growing especially in rural areas and areas with high minority student populations, that it has positive impacts on both college and high school factors, and that it's really fairly low cost because of state and federal funding. So what we're really talking about today is, do we think colleges can reach high school students with intro computer science courses via concurrent enrollment, and they can tap into and also help develop the growing number of high school computer science teachers. So we don't exactly know what is going on in terms of computer science through concurrent enrollment. We don't really know how many institutions offer CSSCE or what they offer. We know in a few places beyond those on our panel that University of Washington offers high school courses, 3 CS courses, that the Montana University system offers the beauty and joy of computing, and that Utah Valley University offers CS principles. So I'm curious if those of you on the call, and I see now there's more than 30 of us here, what other campuses that you know of offer computer science as concurrent enrollment? What do they offer? Or do you know if there are other places where this data might be available? And I'm just going to take a quick look at the chat and see if I can see. Not seeing any answers to that yet. Keep thinking about it. And I'm just going to talk briefly about our effort through the NSF project that some of us are involved in to study can CS through CE broaden participation. We're piloting computer science principles at 2 campuses in 2 states with hopefully we'll have 40 teachers, maybe reaching as many as 600 students. We're using the Mobile CSP curriculum out of the center, and we have partnership with researchers at Elms College as well. So this is a project that we're kind of piloting and launching this study, and we know other places are doing it as well. So on our panel today, we've got 4 different examples. The first 2 are Seth and Dan at their institutions who are involved in our project. We've got a public urban community college and a public rural state university. Cleveland State and Loyola are 4-year universities, 1 public, 1 private, both in urban areas. The terminology they use is a little different. Both Cleveland State and Loyola use the dual credit term. And you can see on the right hand of this matrix the kinds of courses, computer science courses and curricula that are being offered. So this is a little bit of overview to what we're going to hear next, which is our panelists. And I'm going to turn it over to Seth so we can hear about his experience at Capitol.
Thank you very much, Renee, and thank you, Jen, for the earlier introduction. Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Seth Freeman, and I'm a professor and department chair at Capitol Community College in Hartford, Connecticut. I'm going to talk about our College Career Pathways program, which is the concurrent enrollment program in Connecticut, and also talk about then going to the specific context of the National Science Foundation grant, which I'm also partnering with Renee and Jen on. And Dan, who will talk after me, I believe, and start to talk about some of the preliminary outcomes we've seen through this project. So the College Career Pathways program is a common concurrent enrollment program across all the 12 Connecticut community colleges. It's funded by the Perkins federal grant. In this model, high school instructors are approved to teach, are approved by each community college to teach the concurrent enrollment courses in their school building. Students have to choose a career pathway, and in that pathway, take a minimum of a 2-course sequence in the pathway. The program is available to 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. Students can earn up to 15 college credits, and there are no eligibility requirements, at least from the community colleges. The schools can kind of impose their own, and there's no cost to the students or participating schools. So Renee showed a chart earlier that showed historically our community college, Capitol, articulated about 1 or 2 computer science courses, programming logic and web design, and we didn't have much success. We may have articulated them with 2 to 3 schools entirely, kind of over the year. So we've articulated other computer applications courses, and we articulate business courses in math and science. But historically, we weren't successful in articulating computer science courses. So through the National Science Foundation grant that we're partnering in, we were able to articulate the Mobile CSP course. So it's CSC 117 in our college catalog. As part of our model, we approve teachers to first participate in the Mobile CSP professional development, and then they're eligible to teach the course on their campus the following year. Through the Mobile CSP professional development, we provide a 100-hour PD over the summer. This really helped us in terms of helping teachers meet some of the eligibility requirements, which I don't go into much detail, but typically teachers need to have a master's degree in the discipline. We were able to apply a little more flexibility based upon the fact that we were providing the PD, but typically teachers still had to have a graduate degree in a related discipline, which is helpful. And as part of the Mobile CSP professional development model, teachers also meet monthly with the Mobile CSP master teacher and receive year-round support throughout the academic year. So this is some of the preliminary data from our the enrollment data from the first set of schools that participated this last year. So in this slide shows some of the data for our participating schools generally, and then the demographic data of the participating students in the first year. So we had 6 participating schools in the first year. These schools have a total population of roughly 5,000 students. Across the entire school, 48% female and 51% underrepresented minority students. However, we have a wide range in terms of the actual schools. Some of the schools are urban that have 98% underrepresented minority students, and other of our partnering schools are suburban or even a little more rural that have, suburban, that have 14% underrepresented minority students. So, so looking at the enrollment data from the students that actually signed up for the controlled enrollment class in the first year, there were 123 students across the 6 schools. And unfortunately, we did not see a representative sample of participation from female or underrepresented minority students, writ large across the whole cohort. So that's something that we're, and again, as part of this National Science Foundation project, that is the goal, right? To have the participation in our computer science courses reflect the demographics of the school populations. Next slide, please, Renee. So some of the lessons we learned in the first year, well, one, we didn't actually hit our recruitment goal in terms of the number of schools. We wanted to recruit 10 schools, and we were only able to recruit 6. So we did encounter barriers in terms of recruiting schools to participate. Part of it included that computer science is not a core requirement. And another barrier is some of our schools have a preference for teaching mobile CSP only as AP and not as concurrent enrollment or in some sort of hybrid format. Again, we saw that just offering the course as concurrent enrollment alone did not broaden participation in the first year. Which speaks to the importance of recruiting within the school building, and as part of our project, we're partnering with our participating schools to support their recruitment efforts. As I mentioned a second ago, some of our participating schools are actually offering the mobile CSP course in both a dual AP and CE format. This was not something we really anticipated in the outset of our project, but we're kind of learning some challenges that are associated with that and working through that in the project. And I'm happy to kind of give much more detail as we continue later in the breakout sessions.
Forgot to unmute. Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Dan Kaiser from Southwest Minnesota State University. We are the rural school on the list. So Southwest is a public 4-year university. Our Carnegie classification. We do have a couple of master's programs in business and education. We're headcount, we're about 7,000 students, 3,600 FYE. We're relatively young. The university's first class started in 1967. We're located in Marshall, Minnesota. Population is about 13,500. Legend has it that it swells to over 20,000 during the workday because we are the large town in the region. There are only 2 other towns of similar size or larger within a 90-mile radius. You have to go 90 miles to Sioux Falls, South Dakota to get to a town of any size whatsoever. We are NACEP accredited. We were the first school in Minnesota to achieve that. Our concurrent enrollment program is pretty large. We work with over 100 school districts. Most of those schools have 300 to 600 high school students in them. So again, these are small rural high schools, the majority of them. We service a total of about 4,500 students a year. And of those, usually it's around 3,000 in various math courses from college algebra up through calculus. So it is a large program. You can go to the next slide. We adopted the Mobile CSP curriculum for our first computer science course in 2018. We changed the prefix from comp for computing to IDST for interdisciplinary. The course is indeed, at least attempts to look at computer science, from different perspectives, different interdisciplinary perspectives. And so this allows us to try to broaden those perspectives by attracting teachers from other disciplines. In our current cohort, we have teachers that are licensed to teach high school in business, English, mathematics, psychology, and technology. The requirements are a master's degree and the 100 hours of professional development for specifically this course. Now, prior to adopting Mobile CSP, in our very large concurrent enrollment program, we only had about 5 schools, and they were that were involved in computing through college now, and only one of those did any sort of programming. So for 2019 and 2020, we have 6 schools doing the IDST 164, and for 2020 and 2021, it looks like we will have about 14 schools. So, as Seth mentioned, most high schools, for us also in Minnesota, it's not a core subject. And so these rural high schools did not offer any real computing. So this is definitely expanding it to these rural students.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for joining this afternoon. My name's Debbie Jackson. I am the Department Chair of Teacher Education and have worked on a couple of different NSF-funded computer science initiatives with Nigama Stridhar, who I think is here today also listening. So we have been working on preparing teachers to teach AP Computer Science principles, as well as other computer science courses since about 2013. The state of Ohio has a program they call College Credit Plus, and there are a couple of different pieces of this program. Some I'm going to talk about more than others today, but students in grades 7 through 12 who meet any state university's entrance requirements, for this I'll be talking about Cleveland State or CSU, can come to campus and take courses. So that's one way for the junior high and high school students to get college credit. I don't have those numbers. I don't manage our CCP program at Cleveland State, but we have students in all disciplines all over campus taking college courses. So that's one way that they can get the college credit. The other way is teachers can get a CCP credential through their local university. Cleveland State does have a program. The credential requires 18 credit hours of graduate coursework. And then the third way is that computer science departments or content area departments can acknowledge or approve teachers to teach courses as well. So in 2013, when we first started providing professional development around AP computer science principles, we were able to get agreement from the computer science department that the professional development we were providing and the AP CSP course would meet the requirements for CIS 151. So we have cohorts of teachers who are approved through Cleveland State's computer science department to teach CIS 151 through Cleveland State only. And then we have another program that teachers can go through to get the state credential, which is the 18 hours of graduate coursework. And once they get that from the state, they can take that to any school district and use it at different universities. So that's kind of the overview of the program in Ohio and our role in it at Cleveland State. Renee, can you go to the next slide? So I just wanted to show through the numbers. I have numbers since 2017 of the numbers of schools and numbers of students that have enrolled in CIS 151 through the professional development that we've been doing. So you can see it's not a lot of schools and it's not a lot of students. And I'll talk about kind of why that is if we want to go to the next slide, Renee. So the benefits of this are the students receive CSU college credit. They get a transcript from Cleveland State that says they've taken this course. The teachers are part of our computer science learning and teaching community that we've created through the work over the past 7 or 8 years. And then it is a little bit of a recruiting tool for Cleveland State that they already have these credits. The challenge is, as you noticed on the previous slide, the numbers of students aren't that high. The reason for that is in order to receive college credit, you have to meet the entrance requirements at Cleveland State. So students may be in a high school class that would meet the CIS requirements, but if that student doesn't meet entrance requirements for Cleveland State, then they don't get the college credit. So that's kind of it's a barrier for students to get the college credit because they just can't do it if they don't meet our requirements. Also, the master's degree computer science coursework has been a barrier. We have not actually had any teachers go through our program at Cleveland State because the master's level work in computer science requires a lot of prereq knowledge in math and computer science that a lot of our teachers just don't have. And then there is typically some skepticism among professors about what's actually happening in the high school classroom. So those are kind of benefits and challenges. I'm happy as we move through to answer questions or comment further.
All right. Thank you to everybody for being here. I'm Ronald Greenberg from Loyola University, Chicago, which was known to be a private 4-year university, has undergraduate and graduate programs with a strong emphasis on both research and teaching. And there's a particularly strong emphasis at Loyola on social justice and diversity issues. We have approximately 12,000 undergraduates, including almost 400 students that are in the most computing-focused majors, of which we have 4 flavors: computer science, software engineering, cybersecurity, and information technology. And keeping with our desire to broaden participation in computing, we try to offer a number of different pathways into the computing majors. So we have a course called Introduction to Computing, which we recommend for students who really don't have much background. About half of that course does some programming in Python and does other general introduction to computer science. And we also have an alternative route for students who have a little bit more background or are very mathematically sophisticated and comfortable with logic and abstraction and so forth. They can go straight into our introduction to object-oriented programming. And these courses roughly correspond to the two AP courses, Computer Science Principles and Computer Science A. We give credit for scores of 4 or 5 on those AP exams. We also try to offer opportunities for students who may not have originally thought they were interested really in a computing major to see things that might spark their interest. Like we offer a history of computing course, and we offer another programming course that's very much geared towards non-majors, which in the past has incorporated languages like Visual Basic, App Inventor, and processing. The dual credit program at Loyola is a very well-developed program across 15 different subject areas. In a recent semester, there were over 20 high schools that were participating. They're running nearly 100 different sections of 40 different courses. And computer science, however, this program is very small at this time. We're currently having just 2 high schools that are running several sections of the 2 AP courses. This program's been going on in computer science since 2015. It started at that time with a different high school that's not doing it now. And that relates to our biggest challenge that I'll mention coming up about being able to qualify the high school teachers to do this. And we had a teacher at this school that we started with that left the state. So over the course of this time period, though, we've had 150 approximately computer science dual credit students, of which 40% were female, which of course is much higher than the typical percentage of females at the college level, at least in terms of majors. This is true even though right now one of the 2 high schools we're working at this moment is an all-male high school. And most of the class sessions in which we've been doing the dual credit have a mix of students, some of whom are signed up for Credit Loyola and others who are not. And some of the latter students may be planning to take the College Board exam and others may not. In any case, the courses are fully taught by the regular high school teachers. The teachers and the content are vetted by Loyola, and there's a Loyola faculty member making a site visit to the high school and organizing a professional development session at Loyola. So Loyola tries very hard to follow various best practices, and I'm not going to read through everything here. You can see in parentheses where I tried to put a very brief indication of where some of the main things that are going on in these 6 different categories that come from NACEP. The 6 categories are partnerships, curriculum, faculty, students, assessment, and program evaluation. And this accords with the Higher Learning Commission recommendations. That's our accrediting organization, which recommends that we try to align with these standards in NACEP, and goes along with our state guidelines, which I'll say a little bit more about in a moment. And Loyola is planning ultimately to seek accreditation. So in terms of the benefits and challenges for us, I think the university started this program in order to have it as a part of the second bullet item here as a recruiting tool for Loyola, and that aligns very well with Loyola's social justice mission, because the students can receive Loyola credit at a greatly discounted rate, and typically they can transfer it to other institutions as well. This is true even though Loyola is not getting any direct public funding for this program. Loyola gives us very discounted tuition rate. And the CS department joined in order to promote these same goals and specifically to broaden participation in computing. And we've also found this a very nice way of broadening communication and sharing through a community of both high school and university computer science teachers. On the side of the challenges, the biggest one by far has been finding high school teachers that satisfy the state regulations that say that the teachers should meet the same academic credential requirements as faculty that teach on our campus. And that's generally interpreted as requiring them to have a master's level degree in the subject matter, or maybe they just have a master's degree in education, but they still need to have at least 18 graduate hours in the discipline. And we've worked at least to get that reasonably broadly interpreted. That might be math credits or something of that sort, but it has to be at least computer science related. And the other challenge is that there's different operating regions in Illinois, and we're authorizing only 4 out of those 10. We recently had an inquiry for somebody who was just over the border, but we couldn't do it. There's a lot of paperwork involved in getting Loyola authorized in additional regions. So that's our state of affairs now, and we'll go on to the next thing.
Thanks so much, Ronald. Thank you, everybody. Those were great stories about what's going on in concurrent enrollment in these 4 institutions. We promised that this would be interactive. So now we would love it if all of you could stay on, and we will put you, Zoom will put you in a breakout room for about 10 minutes. What your assignment is you introduce yourselves very briefly to each other, just your name, what you do, where you are. Please assign a note taker to capture some ideas that you come up with or key questions. And then we're going to have a couple things for you to discuss, which I'll show you in a minute. You will get a 5-minute and a 1-minute warning. And then Zoom will put you back in the larger group. Or if you want to end early, you can come back to the larger group on your own. When you get back to the larger group, we would love it if the note taker could type at least one question or key idea from your group into the chat box. But don't do that until after you get back, because we won't all be able to see it because we'll be in different rooms. So that's your assignment should you choose to take it. And here are the questions. First, do you have dual enrollment in computer science or computing at your institution? I know many of you are college faculty. If so, what are your goals for that? And are you meeting them? And if not, what might doing this help you meet any of your goals for your department or your institution? Or you could talk about, in the context of your own organization, whether it's a school or a college, what would be the benefits and challenges of offering CS as concurrent enrollment? You've heard about some of those at our panelists' institutions, and we want you to talk about it at where you live. So we are going to go into our breakout rooms, and then we'll come back for a larger discussion and Q&A with all the panelists. So we will see you all back in. Hello, everyone. We're back. Good to see you all. So if you want to open the chat, and your note taker, it would be great if you could put some of your key questions into the chat. And I'm just going to get all my windows back open here. Things going on. And find my slides. So just take a minute and do. So I think we'll keep the slides down for the moment. I've got them ready to go next, but we'll see what folks are sharing here. So I'd like to open it up right now. Appreciate your sharing all this. If anyone wants to turn off their mic and ask a question of the panelists, or share what you thought about in your breakout group.
I can make an observation looking at things that came out in a couple of the different groups. I see that somebody wrote in their notes that they've got community colleges doing it in their states, but they're not seeing a lot of interest from the four-year institutions. And what I mentioned in my breakout group was that we were told by our dual credit coordinator for the university that the community colleges in our area aren't very interested in this because they view it as too much competitive with having students on their campus and their usual programs. So that's interesting. There's just kind of different perspectives. All kinds of different people are coming with how they look at this. But I would say that people should be encouraged to do this. That really anything that people do through the concurrent enrollment is a very small dent in terms of taking away from what they would do in your full college degree program, and that it's a good way to get people introduced to your institution.
I see a question here that some colleges would rather have the students on campus taking these courses to allow them to recruit better. That would be the college recruiting. How do you make a case at your institution to allow enrollment in the high schools? I wonder if I can put that out to any of the panelists.
Well, I can start off on that one. Most of the schools that I work with are an hour and a half to 2 hours away from our university, and that's just not practical to have students come to campus. They can't just come for a class or come for a morning and go back. I actually have a couple of schools that are over 5 hours away. So that's one of the reasons that this program has worked well for us in a rural setting. Having students come to your campus just is not practical.
I'll also answer that, Renee. We very much on our campus view our concurrent enrollment program as a means to promote our campus within the community, within the schools in our geographic area. The data in terms of the number of students that actually come to our campus doesn't always, however, bear out that it's an effective recruiting mechanism. But nonetheless, it is still one that and that's what's we have students come to our campus for college days. The faculty go to the participating schools to observe the classes, and so it can be an effective tool for getting students at the high schools to be aware of your campuses.
Thanks, Seth. We just have a couple minutes, but I want to let everyone know we are going to, the panelists, stay on after the top of the hour for anyone who's able to. We will formally close shortly, but I want to make sure folks know they can stay on and we can keep this discussion going. But we know that Zoom, we have our limits. So I'm going to just share my slides for just a minute and interrupt the discussion so that I can just give a couple next steps and then a little acknowledgement. But please stay with me. You can here. So we have a resource handout, and that will be on the slides when you get them, and also there'll be a follow-up email to all of you, and you can look at the resources there. There's links to a lot more about concurrent enrollment. And there's a short survey that you will get as well to just let us know what you think of this. And if you want to stay in touch about possible collaborations in the future, if you're thinking about doing this, if you want to do everything as like share resources and have a little chat, or possibly think about research or grants in this area in the future, please leave your information on the survey and we'll get back to you. This will be posted also on the SIGCSE online portal, so you'll be able to go back to it. We want to acknowledge NSF, which has funded our project as well as others, including ones that all the panelists are involved in. So thank you, NSF. And there's some references there as well on the slides. So it is the top of the hour. I want to say thank you to those of you who need to end. And I want to then now open it up to continue discussion. Were there any other topics that were important in your small groups that you want to share? You can unmute your mic. You're welcome to unmute yourself. Otherwise, I know there's a topic about, oh, go ahead.
Oh, hi. Shante Kostin, East Cleveland City Schools, Shaw High School. I work with Debbie with CSforCLE, so that's where I got my training was through Mobile CSP, and I love it. I would say, like what they were saying, for the biggest barriers was the fact that, you know, we have teachers that are able to teach the course like myself. You know, students pass the AP exams. However, because we don't have that master's and that background, and it's so much more work for us to go back and take these 5, 6 extra classes, that's a definite challenge. And then students not being able to qualify because test scores, their test scores, like my high school, the average ACT score is a 14. So that tells you they have the ability to complete the work, but they just, you know, don't have the test taking skills. And, you know, then on the community college side, they hold it against you if you don't have a master's in that area. So if we want to increase students getting that CS at the high school level and increase that interest, there's got to be a give somewhere where our students are given the opportunity. But as long as those barriers are there, they're not going to get that opportunity because of, you know, those barriers to me that can be lifted with ease.
Any panelists want to respond?
Well, that is one of the reasons that we decided to make the course interdisciplinary, so that you know, strictly computer science graduate work wasn't necessary. Still, it is a college course, and so a master's is required to teach a college course. The other route that I hope most states are moving towards would be to have it be one of the core subjects for high school students.
Yes, that's the case in Chicago. We're the first large school district that requires a computer science course for high school graduation. And we're also seeing increasing interest among teachers to be able to be qualified to do dual credit in computer science. And we are working towards offering programs at Loyola that would give those graduate credits to teachers, which has its own complications, but we're working on that.
I think part of the problem is in higher ed, there's this confusion that if you have enough subject matter knowledge, it makes up for not having any educational knowledge or teaching background. You know, get a master's, get a PhD. Who cares if you've ever taught a class in your life? You're more than qualified now. You know, I mean, I understand that if we're teaching junior and senior level courses, but we're teaching essentially the first class for majors or lower, you know, if you're doing a CS0, you know, like a principal's course. Yes, you need a strong computer science background, but a master's degree? No.
Yeah.
But convincing higher ed that, you know, now we're creating layers. You have enough, and I understand the issues with this, but you have enough education to teach freshman courses. How much more do you need to teach sophomore courses? You know, we have the issues, but we got teachers
going up against state standards, though.
Yeah, but the irony is you need a college degree to teach high school, but I don't know if formally it's written down anywhere that you need a high school degree to teach college.
Yeah.
You might not get hired, but I'm pretty sure, I mean, I'd be surprised if that was actually written down somewhere.
Thanks, Tom. That's a good observation. It's challenging. Seth, were you going to add something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that without getting myself in too much trouble. You know, I think the colleagues of mine that are really real advocates for concurrent enrollment, you know, department chairs, et cetera, try to exercise as much flexibility as possible when you know, evaluating teacher applications. In some cases, we can use, you know, significant industry experience as a if not you know, if not as a, you know, at least temporary substitute for the master's degree. But there's, you know, those require waivers and exceptions and things of that nature. So it's a challenge. To your question, it's certainly a challenge, and we just try to exercise any flexibility we can to support our, you know, high school teachers.
Yeah, and something that I was thinking about actually in preparation for the panel is that in Cleveland State anyway, we could do a better job of collaborating with Tri-C. Tri-C is our community college that's not that far from our university, a couple blocks, maybe a mile, and not that far from East Cleveland or Cleveland Public Schools. So, you know, because we have the option in Ohio for departments to make the decision about if teachers are credentialed or not for your local institution, we could work better with Tri-C to communicate that. So the teachers who go through our program, our professional development program, are qualified to teach CIS 151 at Cleveland State, but they're not qualified to teach at the community colleges. So just better communication about what that means to the community colleges. I think we could do better at that to open that up for the students.
Thanks, Debbie. Are there other questions for our panelists or comments on this or a related topic? In terms of these challenges of allowing students to take the courses, you know, what are the criteria, and allowing teachers to teach these courses, these are challenges that are being raised about concurrent enrollment in general. And I think that people are recognizing that the gaps in participation and the disparities that exist for certain groups in order to access and take these courses go right up against some of the policies that are in place. And I mentioned in our small group, there is a advocacy network called the College in High School Alliance. And they are trying to make recommendations for states to think about how they offer dual and concurrent enrollment programs with an eye toward equity, and making recommendations, some of which are, you know, looking at, and some of these things were mentioned in the chat, how these programs are funded, what is the burden of cost on students, what students are allowed to take them, how do students find out about these courses, and what teachers are allowed to offer them. And I think that those sorts of efforts to pressure states, who many of which are really looking at the inequities and gaps in their education systems at the state level, and paying attention to that, I think might be more open to thinking about whether there are any of these policies that might either be loosened or might be looked at a sort of more granular level. When I think about computer science, I think it's such a new discipline, period. It's still new in higher ed for those of us who've been around a while, and it's very new in K-12. And any new discipline, it's understandable. How could you expect lots of people to have master's degrees in that subject? And since it's so new being brought into high school, I'm wondering if the people who make these decisions and these policies might look at computer science specifically and say, as a new subject area that is having some real challenges in being representative of all the people who can benefit from computer science and who use the learnings of computer science, maybe it can have some special rules for a short time. I don't know if there would be openness to that, and it would be authorities like both state education authorities as well as higher ed accrediting agencies that might need to look at this. But I'm wondering if there might be ways to partner with groups like NASEP or the College and High School Alliance or things like that to really bring this particular problem of computer science to their attention.
Yeah, it would be great if we could band together to push that.
So that might be something if people want to follow up from this, and we can, you know, keep people in touch if we might be able to think about broaching those sorts of conversations. Shanti makes the point, people with a master's are not going to want to make a teacher salary when they can make six figures. Yes, that's definitely true. I think the master's in a different subject, knowing that computing kind of integrates all subjects, is a case that perhaps could be made. It's clearly working at Southwest in Minnesota. Are there other comments or questions?
I'll just say we do have one new teacher coming in next year who has a master's in computer science.
And if I understand, Seth, a lot of your teachers partnering with Capital have master's degrees in some field. Do you want to say a bit more about that?
Sure. So master's in mathematics. What else? Some disciplines like educational technology. So not. I don't think any of our recently approved teachers none of them have masters in computer science, but they have master's degrees in related areas. And we combine that with the teaching experience. Their teaching experience, many of them have been teaching computer science in their high schools for you know, either Mobile CSP or other computer science coursework. So we exercise the full amount of discretion that we have within our department to be as flexible as possible. But yes, none of them have master's degrees in computer science.
Does anyone want to speak specifically to the situation of concurrent enrollment in their state or at their institution? If it differs, or what the goals you've had, or if they're being met?
I'd like to have concurrent enrollment.
And Tom, where are you?
North Dakota.
Okay, and I see there were some comments about the cost of a dual credit course in North Dakota being fairly high.
Well, I guess so now. I thought it was cheap up until until today, because it was cheaper than paying for 3 credits, you know, outright at the university. I think it's about half tuition or half cost for the class is what it amounts to.
Yeah, every state is different about that, and those funding decisions certainly can be barriers for student participation.
I think in Loyola our amount is about $195
per course.
Yeah.
I really.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just can't even stress enough how much of a barrier that would be if we were charging students. That would be so prohibitive for our participating schools. I don't think we would even have the program, honestly, if we were charging that amount.
I think there are options available here if money is an issue.
Okay.
God, I hope so.
Sure.
But that's not relevant to me. So I'm sure I've gotten paperwork and then just not paid much attention to it. Thank God, you know.
So Diane put in the chat, the NASEP Alliance is the National Alliance of Concurrent Education Partnerships. College in the High School Alliance, it's Alliance at the end, and that's the group that's doing the advocacy work. And I did link to them on the resource page, the Google document that you'll get. And I don't have that handy right here, but we'll make sure that you get that as well. All right, well, thank you, everyone. If are there any other questions? Otherwise, thank you for your time. I will just share briefly the page with the links again, if you want to add that or go to those links. And I need to share my screen. And again, thank you so much. You'll get that follow-up survey, and we would love it if you would give us your 2 cents.
Thank you, Renee, and thank you, Alexis.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll stop recording now.